So we're going to talk a little bit about mistakes we've made along the way in business, Todd.
What mistakes? I don't know about.
Mistakes, let's rephrase. Mistakes I've made in business.
I've made them too. Go ahead.
And also that we know that many other entrepreneurs make every day.
Exactly.
Yeah. And, like nearly all entrepreneurs, we weren't instant successes. We had to pay our dues. And like nearly all entrepreneurs, we had our share of misfires and failures and even utter flops. But we learned valuable lessons along the way. In my opinion, there isn't really much difference between the mistakes that millionaires make when starting a new business as opposed to the rest of the population. Even billionaires, they make some of these same fundamental mistakes, and we hear about them in a big way sometimes. One that comes to mind that I think all small business people are sometimes guilty of, and that is maybe borrowing too much money.
Okay.
Banks just don't give away money. And when you borrow money, they want paid back, and they want paid back on certain terms, and even they have covenants that say you have to have a certain level of earnings and so on. And I think the small businessman thinks, well, if I'm making my payments or if I'm able to make my payments, that's okay, and I'm going to be all right. So
in your mistake, like you're saying you made a mistake there, like what was a mistake in more detail?
Well, I'm not necessarily talking. I am guilty of this, at least on a couple of occasions, but I'm talking in general. You really want to keep your borrowing really to a minimum in a small business because there's so many ways that can come back and bite you.
Right.
Yeah.
If lack of sales happens and
right,
something
or
of that nature.
Things beyond your control. I mean,
Yeah.
9/11 happens, and all of a sudden you're in the travel business, as an
Right. example,
and nobody can travel for 6 months.
Right.
The bank still wants paid.
Exactly.
Yes.
And so the mistake can be made that you are replacing you're replacing loan money where sales should be there.
Right.
You get drawn into a false sense of security, and then you don't have the sales to make the payments.
Well, even if you're making the payments, if the bank doesn't think that your percentage of sales or profit is high enough, they can come in and,
You're not
and
making
demand
enough
their
sales
money
for them.
Yes.
Right.
Or if you have a catastrophe in the business of some sort, they can get scared and say, "Hey, this guy might go down. Let's grab our money."